Li Fengfei leaned against the door, watching as Ding Hao bustled around in her kitchen, the clinking of pots and pans accompanying his actions. As he worked, he didn't stop talking. He explained that when it came to kitchen utensils, knives and pots were the most important, and they had to be of good quality. Then he mentioned a brand. Li Fengfei remained silent. She had never eaten pork but had seen pigs run. The brand of kitchen utensils Ding Hao mentioned was available at the major department stores, and a single knife could cost over 1,000 yuan, which was beyond her budget. So, she kept quiet. She watched as Ding Hao meticulously prepared the baby bok choy, peeling away the outer leaves, cutting off the ends, and discarding most of it, leaving only the tender middle and inner part. Li Fengfei felt a pang of regret. Greens were expensive these days. The baby bok choy he was handling probably cost around 7 or 8 yuan, and he had thrown away 2/3 of it. Not quite understanding, she asked, "Why did you throw away the leaves? Aren't you supposed to eat the whole thing?" Ding Hao glanced back at her and said, "The base of this baby bok choy was too old. The outer leaves would become tasteless when stir-fried. Only this part is edible." Fengfei nodded and watched as Ding Hao sliced the cooked Chinese sausage into thin strips and cut the green peppers into long, slender pieces, removing the seeds in the middle. While steaming the rice, he casually remarked, "In the future, don't buy this kind of rice. Get fragrant rice, it tastes much better. When living alone, you have to treat yourself well." Fengfei replied with a simple okay. She felt a little guilty. She realized that she hadn't been treating herself well, but it was more about not wanting to spend the money. Clearly, Ding Hao's life was much more comfortable than hers. Even with a simple meal, he carried a sense of ceremony about it. And Ding Hao's cooking was genuinely good. Even a simple dish like sweet and sour green peppers left Fengfei's mouth watering, just like her feelings for him. So, Ding Hao's discerning nature was not about putting on airs, it was all about real skills. This included their time in bed. Of course, in bed, Ding Hao was not critical of Fengfei in the slightest. This was something she appreciated about him. At critical moments, he made her feel at ease. He praised the light purple walls in her bedroom and her pale bedding. He complimented her on her petite, graceful curves. In his words, like a delicate little vase, not overly full, not too slim, but exquisitely refined, perfect for admiring. Then, he proceeded to demonstrate his admiration for Fengfei's body with his own. Ding Hao was not a muscular body type, but he hadn't gained any extra weight either. His physique perfectly matched his style in bed, not too intense, not too passive. There were no unnecessary actions, no deliberate attempts at prolonging things, yet he left Fengfei feeling satisfied and content. Afterward, there was no immediate falling asleep or hasty departure. He held her for a long time, and they chatted casually. They lay there for over an hour before he said, "It's getting late, I should go." Fengfei nodded and said, "All right." This was the first time they had spent the night together, and she felt it was inappropriate for him to stay over. After that, Ding Hao got out of bed and neatly dressed himself, buttoning up his shirt, putting on long pants, a coat, and everything in perfect order. Fengfei watched the entire process. From the beginning, she had liked Ding Hao's meticulous nature. Ding Hao wasn't conventionally handsome. He had small eyes, thin lips, and sharp features. Yet, he exuded a kind of effortless comfort. Fengfei felt that this comfort was the result of many years of a superior life. This man probably hadn't faced much hardship and didn't have the same life pressures. Over the years, Fengfei had encountered too many men and women struggling for survival. Even if they were young and good-looking, there was often an underlying sense of anxiety and unease in their demeanor. Fengfei herself had lived in a state of insecurity due to her lack of family and financial support. Her parents didn't have the means to help her. What Li Fengfei had to rely on was herself, and the only way she could do it was through the most clumsy and hardworking means. After all, she wasn't a striking beauty. This disadvantage forced her to work harder to elevate herself, so that she would seem more compatible with someone like Ding Hao. Fengfei understood her journey all too well. The only serious relationship she had was during her university days. The men who came into her life afterward were the result of half-hearted affairs driven by the need to secure a job. She had even risked her dignity to get where she was. She had pushed herself relentlessly, and by the age of 25, she had achieved her goal of earning a monthly salary over 10,000 yuan, bought a house on mortgage, made some investments, and managed to save some money. But all her clothing came from discount stores. Even items she found on Taobao were left in her shopping cart for a long time, waiting for discounts. This was her life for many years. She wasn't poor anymore, but she still couldn't part with her frugal habits. Until she met Ding Hao. Feng Fei met Ding Hao while on a business trip to Shanghai. They sat side by side on the high-speed train for over 4 hours, talked and got along exceptionally well. It felt like they had known each other forever. They exchanged contact information, and Ding Hao soon initiated several dinner dates. The places they went to weren't overly expensive, but they were unique. Typically, their meals cost around 200 yuan per person, which Ding Hao considered perfectly normal. Feng Fei didn't want to appear too surprised, so she calmly went along with it. She even tried to secretly pay the bill at the counter every few times, making it a point not to let Ding Hao foot the bill. But each time she did that, she still felt a pinch in her heart. For this reason, she hesitated about moving forward with Ding Hao, even as she couldn't bear to let him go. Spending money may make Feng Fei's heart ache, but being with Ding Hao, she experienced many pleasures she had never known before. It wasn't just about money, it was about her body and life itself. For example, due to Ding Hao's love for fine dining, Feng Fei, soon after being with him, tried a variety of foods she had never tasted before. Occasionally, when she tried to pay the bill, she would feel a moment of financial discomfort, but it was quickly overshadowed by the joy of being with Ding Hao. He liked to sit next to her during meals, a posture she had read was the most intimate for couples. Moreover, when she was with Ding Hao, Feng Fei felt her social standing rise. She sensed that people saw them as a well-off couple. Even her immediate supervisor once remarked, "Li Fengfei, you seem to be more refined lately." Feng Fei knew her transformation was due to the clothes Ding Hao had helped her choose during their shopping trips. She had bitten the bullet and paid for them. She didn't want to let Ding Hao pay, and she didn't want to admit she couldn't afford them. That night, she lay awake, feeling the pain of spending that money. But the result was surprisingly good. Feng Fei realized that the money was well spent, and Ding Hao knew how to spend it. She felt that a man who was willing to give fashion advice to a woman was getting closer to her. Yes, they had slept together, but neither of them had defined what their relationship was. Feng Fei didn't feel the need to ask. They were both adults, and perhaps things would naturally fall into place. Feng Fei thought that when it was time to acknowledge their relationship, she would. Feng Fei slowly became addicted to the life Ding Hao was providing her. She felt the pain of spending money, but she also experienced the joy of a lifestyle she hadn't known before. During weekends, she would accompany Ding Hao to a high-end countryside resort. They would watch the sunrise, soak in hot springs, pick fruit, and savor authentic farmhouse cuisine. This was the kind of life she had admired on television, and now, she was living it. She was a bit overwhelmed at times, but more than anything, she was pleasantly surprised and delighted to be experiencing it. Feng Fei never imagined that she could make love under the starry sky on a grassy field with such an exceptional man. Above them were lush acacia trees, and the moonlight filtered through the branches, casting a magical glow on their entwined bodies. It felt like art, beautiful and enchanting. But Feng Fei also didn't want Ding Hao to realize how much she was enjoying all of this. She tried to conceal her amazement and make everything appear natural. This included occasionally volunteering to pay for romantic getaways together. Feng Fei didn't want Ding Hao to think she was a woman who enjoyed spending a man's money. She hoped to match Ding Hao in this regard. They enjoyed these romantic days for over half a year. However, not long after the arrival of winter, Feng Fei noticed that her communication with Ding Hao had become subtly more distant. The beginning of the distancing wasn't very noticeable, but Feng Fei felt that she hadn't dined with Ding Hao for about 3 or 4 days. Perplexed, she called Ding Hao and suggested having dinner together after work. Ding Hao hesitated for a moment and said, "I've been a bit busy these days, there are some issues at work, and I'm swamped." Feng Fei replied, "All right, if you're busy, we can plan it later." After that, Feng Fei called every 2 days, but Ding Hao kept making excuses. So, the "we'll do it later" stretched on for almost half a month without them seeing each other. Feng Fei began to feel that something was off. Even if they didn't have time for dinner, there should be time for them to be together in bed. Previously, Ding Hao would spend at least 2 nights a week at Feng Fei's place. Feng Fei couldn't hold back any longer. She was starting to feel that without Ding Hao in her life, it was empty and aimless, a kind of torment. For over half a year, this man had established a deep presence in her life, and his sudden absence made her even neglect her job, leading to a low-level mistake she had never made before. Feng Fei knew she had to find out what was going on. She began to worry that Ding Hao might have fallen in love with someone else. So she asked him directly if something was wrong. She inquired whether he had different thoughts or something else. After some contemplation, Ding Hao answered, "I'm sorry, Feng Fei, but I've been really tight on money lately. To be honest, I can't even afford to take you out to dinner." Feng Fei was taken aback, then relieved. She had been fearing that Ding Hao might have fallen for someone else, and the real reason was this. She asked, "What happened?" Ding Hao explained that his company had faced some financial issues recently, and the business had been interrupted for 2 or 3 months. He also mentioned that he was stuck with 2 stocks, which had been plummeting during the ongoing stock market downturn. He had the habit of spending lavishly and wasn't good at saving money. He then admitted that he had recently borrowed a few thousand yuan from a friend to make ends meet. Feng Fei burst into laughter and said, "If you can't afford to treat me, I'll treat you, it's just a meal, after all." Ding Hao agreed, saying, "Exactly, it's all about eating and dressing for daily life." Feng Fei thought, he was just facing a temporary difficulty, not bankruptcy. She didn't want to let their days together be ruined over something like this. She also felt that it wasn't just about his money, she genuinely enjoyed spending time with him. After some light banter, Ding Hao felt more at ease. He said, "I'm a bit short on money, people can be short-sighted, and I'm no exception." Feng Fei then boldly said, "No problem, I'll support you for now." Even the ancients knew that marriage is built on 100 days of kindness. After saying this, she blushed. Ding Hao's tone became more relaxed, and he asked, "So, how many days have we had?" Feng Fei replied, "You shameless rogue." Ding Hao laughed heartily and said, "I might be shameless, but I only want you." After hanging up the phone, Feng Fei thought she must be going crazy. She, who had always been frugal and thrifty, was now voluntarily offering to support a man. She couldn't believe she was acting this way. After waiting for 2 days, Ding Hao indeed moved in. He jokingly said that if someone was supporting him, he needed to fulfill his duties, so he would consider it as selling himself. He added that he would redeem himself later. That evening, Ding Hao was very affectionate, and the bed sheets were drenched. They had to switch to the sofa in the living room. Feng Fei felt like she was going to drown. She even thought that even if it was just for one night, it would be worth it even if she had to spend her entire fortune. But what Ding Hao provided her was much more than just one night. However, Ding Hao had his stubborn side. Feng Fei offered him money a few times, usually just a few thousand yuan, but he refused to accept it. He told her to spend her own money on her food, clothing, and living expenses, while he could still make his own pocket money. Feng Fei didn't insist on it any further. For a blissful period of time, Ding Hao prepared different delicious meals for them 3 times a day. Especially on weekends, they didn't dine out, they cooked sumptuous meals at home. The only hassle was buying groceries. Sometimes they had to visit 2 or 3 supermarkets to find the seafood or specific condiments Ding Hao wanted. After hesitating a few times, Feng Fei eventually bought a set of basic cookware from the German brand she liked. She felt it was the right way to complement Ding Hao's culinary skills. Around a month after Ding Hao moved in, as the seasons changed, Feng Fei suggested buying 2 new coats and some long pants. Ding Hao said, "No need, spring is so short, and summer will be here in no time. I won't wear them much." Feng Fei smiled and said, "Since I'm supporting you, you should look the part. Can't I even buy you clothes?" Feng Fei couldn't pinpoint the exact moment, but she realized that she didn't feel as distressed about spending money as she used to. It seemed that she had grown accustomed to it during this time. Even for her own clothes, she stopped online shopping as frequently. She believed that Ding Hao could easily tell the quality of clothing at a glance. She also wanted to pamper him, considering this as mutual pampering. He pampered her both emotionally and physically, and she wanted to return the favor in a small material way. Because Feng Fei insisted, they eventually bought the clothes. She also purchased 2 pairs of sneakers, the brand Ding Hao usually preferred. When it was time to pay, Feng Fei hesitated for a moment. Ding Hao's clothes were much more expensive than what she had reluctantly bought for herself in the past. However, she didn't feel as heartbroken this time. After swiping her card, Feng Fei suddenly realized that she couldn't afford to keep supporting him like this. She thought, he won't let me support him forever. Hopefully, his company will recover soon. However, 3 months later, as the seasons had already changed again, on a weekend when Feng Fei and Ding Hao were returning from a week's worth of grocery shopping, Feng Fei couldn't help but do some mental calculations. She had been with Ding Hao for almost a year, and she had never managed to save a penny. In fact, she had started frequently overdrawing her credit card. Before, her monthly salary of 2,000 yuan used to be enough. But now, she hadn't saved more than 1,000, and in the month when they went to Yunnan for a few days, they had spent her entire month's salary in one go. Her money had been flowing away silently, like water. But it had been more than 3 months, and Ding Hao's financial situation showed no signs of improving. She hadn't dared to ask him about it during this time. She was afraid it might hurt his feelings. However, this situation seemed a bit abnormal. She, Li Fengfei, was not born into a wealthy family, and her financial drain was gradually making everything she once enjoyed feel bland. Fancy clothes, romantic dates, and even the intimate moments in bed had all lost their charm, especially when she thought about how it was her hard-earned money funding it all. Unable to contain her curiosity, after one night of intimacy, with him still tenderly holding her, Fengfei casually asked, "How's it going with the company? Has it been sorted out yet?" Ding Hao hesitated for a moment before replying, "I initially wanted to wait for the company to turn things around. After all, reaching my current position was no easy feat, but it seems it'll take longer than expected. So, I'm currently trying to find another job. I've been to a few interviews already, and negotiations are ongoing." Fengfei simply acknowledged this response with an and felt that was enough. After all, pushing further might strain their relationship. But deep down, she couldn't shake off the feeling of confusion. She simply couldn't afford this lifestyle anymore. Ding Hao disappeared 2 days later in the afternoon. When Fengfei returned home from work, he was gone. All that remained were his clothes, daily necessities, and his suitcase, along with a few of Fengfei's jewelry pieces and over 1,000 yuan she had in a drawer. There was a note on the table, "I found a new job, and after a while, I'll return the money I owe you for this period. Thank you for hosting me for so long, and thank you for letting me experience love. I don't think I'll have that again in the future, even though I'm regretful that we couldn't be together for long." Fengfei thought she would feel relieved, but she didn't. She didn't feel disappointed or go into a frenzy. She simply read Ding Hao's short note 3 times and gently placed it down. She knew Ding Hao had lied. He was indeed unemployed and looking for a job, but he wasn't a high-ranking executive at a company. He was just an ordinary employee who made a living with his technical skills. He also didn't come from a privileged family. He was from a humble rural background, just like her. On the night she confronted him, she had secretly looked at his job application and found out everything. He must have loved her, just as she had loved him genuinely. They were like 2 children, reveling in a world that didn't originally belong to them, playing the roles of prince and princess. As they got deeper into their roles, they couldn't extricate themselves, and they had to wait for one of them to reveal their true selves, forcing the other to make an inevitable retreat. He didn't have the courage to tell her that he was actually a poor man, with younger siblings to support back in his hometown, and that he had only finished high school. His so-called culinary skills and knowledge were acquired during 3 years working as a bellboy at a 5-star hotel when he first came to the city. Just like she didn't have the courage to tell him about her humble past and her ongoing struggles, because deep down, they both resisted accepting their true selves and couldn't accept each other in such a state. Wanting to find someone to live a life filled with passion was their destiny, while wanting to find someone who would wholeheartedly live out a beautiful dream together was a luxury in life that was rarely attainable. In this sense, they should both be grateful for this encounter. Sitting in the summer evening, Fengfei thought for a while, and then she felt a bit hungry. She opened the refrigerator, filled with all kinds of ingredients she used to just gaze at in the supermarket but couldn't bring herself to buy the scallops, salmon, king prawns, cheese, pure fruit juice, and more. She took out a few of them but was unsure of what to do with them. Eventually, Fengfei just made a bowl of noodles, and unlike before, she added a few plump prawns. The taste improved significantly. She thought she might learn to cook with expensive knives and kitchen tools in the future. It might not be as delicious at first, but with practice, it could get better. She also considered learning to nurture plants beyond hanging baskets like Ding Hao did. On weekends, she could indulge herself a bit by buying a bouquet of lilies or forget-me-nots. She remembered Ding Hao mentioning a brand of comfortable and well-fitting underwear, and she thought she might try it too. The money she had previously spent on him could now be spent on herself. Fengfei suddenly felt more relaxed. After eating, Fengfei poured herself a glass of tomato juice, cool and refreshing, not too sweet, and very refreshing. Before she met Ding Hao, she hadn't even tasted pure tomato juice. Feng Fei realized that her life had changed so much since she met this man. He had left, but the changes he brought were real. She recalled Ding Hao's words, "You should be kinder to yourself, and remember, money is never spent in vain." Perhaps he wanted to tell her that if love could be a commodity bought with money, then their time together was worth every penny. Maybe, one day, when they were both prosperous, unmarried, and had the capital to rekindle this expensive connection, it wouldn't be impossible. Thinking like this, she couldn't help but smile.